Hey, welcome back. Let everything quiet down, and we'll ease into a slow tale from Norse mythology. Before there were borders, before there were roads, before there were gods who ruled from halls of gold, or humans who measured the sky by seasons, there was structure. Not a structure built by hands, but one that existed because existence itself required something to hold it together. In Norse cosmology, that structure is Yggdrasil. Yggdrasil is not simply a tree. Calling it a tree is convenient, but misleading. It is a living framework that supports all realms, all beings, and all moments in time. It is the axis around which the Norse universe turns, even though it never moves. Everything that exists does so in relation to it. The gods do not stand above it. Humans do not live beside it. Even the forces that gnaw at reality itself are contained within its form. The earliest surviving references to Yggdrasil come from the Poetic Edda and the Prose Edda, composed in Iceland during the 13th century, but preserving far older oral traditions. These sources do not explain Yggdrasil in a single, neat description. Instead, they reveal it in fragments. A root mentioned here, a creature named there, a brief image of gods gathering beneath its branches. This fragmented presentation mirrors how the Norse themselves likely understood the cosmos. It was not a system designed to be diagrammed. It was a system lived within. At the most basic level, Yggdrasil is the world-bearing structure. All known realms exist within it, suspended among its roots, trunk, and branches. It connects Asgard, the realm of the gods, Midgard, the world of humans, Jötunheim, the land of giants, and realms far stranger and more hostile. These worlds are not stacked neatly like floors in a tower. They overlap, interpenetrate, and influence one another through Yggdrasil's living body. What makes Yggdrasil unique among world trees in global mythology is that it is neither perfect nor eternal in the way later religious cosmologies imagine creation. It suffers, it decays, it must be maintained. The gods themselves depend on it, yet cannot fully protect it. In Norse myth, even the foundation of reality is under constant strain. The name Yggdrasil offers an early clue to its deeper meaning. Scholars commonly translate it as Odin's horse. This comes from Ygr, one of Odin's many names, and Drasil, meaning horse or steed. The name refers to Odin's self-sacrifice, when he hung himself from the tree for 9 nights in pursuit of knowledge. In this sense, Yggdrasil is not just the world's support, it is also the instrument through which wisdom is gained, pain is endured, and transformation occurs. But the tree predates Odin's sacrifice. It was already there when the gods came into being. It is older than Asgard and older than Midgard. Yggdrasil belongs to a deeper layer of existence, closer to the primal forces that shape the cosmos from the void of Ginnungagap. The gods rely on it, but they did not create it. In Norse cosmology, the universe is not arranged according to moral hierarchy. There is no singular heaven above and hell below in the later Christian sense. Instead, there is vertical structure without moral ranking. Realms exist above, below, and alongside one another, connected by necessity rather than judgment. Yggdrasil is the organizing principle that allows this structure to function. Its roots reach into places that even the gods approach with caution. Its branches stretch into realms of order, beauty, and power. Its trunk passes through the human world, making everyday existence part of a cosmic system, whether humans are aware of it or not. Life in Midgard is not separate from the struggles of the gods or the hunger of monsters beneath the roots. All are bound together. Unlike many later cosmological systems, Yggdrasil does not guarantee stability. It does not promise balance. Instead, it reveals a universe defined by tension. Forces of growth and decay act simultaneously. Water nourishes the roots, while serpents gnaw at them. Leaves grow and are consumed. Messages travel up and down its length, sometimes bringing wisdom, sometimes spreading hostility. This tension is essential. Without it, the Norse universe would not function. Creation is not static. It is maintained through constant effort. sacrifice, and adaptation. Yggdrasil embodies this truth more than any god or hero. It does not choose sides, it endures. The gods themselves gather beneath Yggdrasil daily to hold council. This detail appears repeatedly in the Eddic sources. Even the highest powers must come to the tree to deliberate, judge, and make decisions. Authority in Norse myth does not originate from a throne or a single ruler. It emerges from assembly, from shared space, and from connection to deeper forces. This setting matters. The gods do not meet in a palace removed from the structure of the universe. They meet at its center. Their laws and decisions are made in the shadow of something greater than themselves. Yggdrasil is both witness and participant in their rule. The idea of a cosmic tree is not unique to Norse culture. World trees appear in many Indo-European and non-Indo-European traditions. What distinguishes Yggdrasil is how explicitly physical and vulnerable it is. It is not an abstract symbol. It bleeds sap. It creaks under strain. It can be harmed. The Norse imagination did not separate nature from cosmology. Trees were not decorative elements in the landscape. They were living pillars, sources of shelter, fuel, tools, and danger. A tree that held the universe together would naturally reflect the same qualities as the forests the Norse lived among: resilient, useful, and always under threat. Yggdrasil's scale defies precise measurement. It is vast enough to contain entire worlds, yet intimate enough that individual creatures and wells within it matter deeply. This duality is central to its role. It connects the cosmic and the personal. A god's fate, a human life, and a serpent's hunger all register within the same structure. Time itself flows differently through Yggdrasil. Past, present, and future are not strictly separated. Fate is woven at its roots. Prophecy echoes through its branches. The present moment exists because the tree continues to stand, even as it decays. Yggdrasil does not exist outside time, but it experiences time as accumulation rather than progression. This is why Yggdrasil cannot be understood as merely scenery. It is the condition for existence. Remove it, and the 9 worlds collapse into unconnected fragments. Remove it, and there is no pathway for gods to gain wisdom, no structure for fate to be shaped, no refuge for life after destruction. In later retellings and modern interpretations, Yggdrasil is often simplified into a diagram, a tree with labeled realms hanging from its branches. While useful for teaching, this image flattens its complexity. In the original sources, Yggdrasil is not tidy. It is dense, layered, and sometimes contradictory. Different poems emphasize different aspects. Some describe its suffering. Others focus on its endurance. Together, they present a structure that is always in the process of becoming. The Norse did not seek certainty in their cosmology. They accepted ambiguity. Yggdrasil reflects this worldview. It is known through relationships rather than definitions. We learn what it is by observing what happens to it and what depends on it. At the center of this understanding is a quiet but profound idea. The universe does not rest on perfection. It rests on something that struggles to survive. Order is not guaranteed. It is maintained moment by moment by forces that are never fully in control. Yggdrasil stands not because it is unbreakable, but because it has not yet broken. And that distinction matters. As we continue deeper into the world of Yggdrasil, we will move downward, beneath its bark and into the dark places where its roots take hold. There, beneath the visible worlds, lie the forces that nourish reality, and the forces that threaten to unravel it. To understand Yggdrasil fully, one must stop looking upward. The branches may hold worlds, but the true weight of existence is carried below. Beneath the visible trunk, hidden from gods and mortals alike, Yggdrasil sinks its roots into places older than order itself. These roots are not merely supports. They are conduits, binding the tree to forces that shape destiny, memory, and decay. Norse sources speak of 3 great roots, not 2. Not many, but 3, each reaching into a fundamentally different realm. This triadic structure is not accidental. It reflects a worldview in which reality is stabilized through tension between incompatible forces. Each root anchors Yggdrasil to a distinct principle, and without any one of them, the entire structure would fail. The first root reaches toward the realm of the gods, into Asgard. This root connects Yggdrasil to the Well of Yrd, where fate is shaped and sustained. The second stretches into Jötunheim, the land of the giants, where Mimir's well preserves wisdom that predates the gods themselves. The third descends into the dark, mist-laden depths of Niflheim, terminating at Hvergelmir, the source of primal waters and relentless decay. These roots do not exist peacefully. They are constantly strained by what they touch. One is tended carefully. One is guarded at great cost. One is under perpetual attack. Together, they explain why the Norse cosmos endures without ever becoming stable. The root that reaches into Asgard is perhaps the most familiar in tone, though not in comfort. This root draws Yggdrasil toward the domain of order, law, and divine governance. Yet even here, beneath the shining halls of the gods, nothing is secure. At the base of this root lies the Well of Yrd, one of the most sacred locations in Norse mythology. It is here that the Norns reside. Yrd, Verdandi, and Skuld are not gods, nor are they giants. They are something older and less easily categorized. Their names are associated with what has been, what is becoming, and what must come to pass. The Norns do not create fate from nothing, they tend it. Each day, they draw water from the well and mix it with sacred clay, applying it to Yggdrasil's bark. This act keeps the tree from rotting entirely. Fate, in Norse thought, is not a rigid script written once and followed blindly. It is a process of maintenance. This detail is crucial. Even the root closest to the gods requires constant care. Law and order are not self-sustaining. They must be reinforced through ritual, attention, and sacrifice. The gods themselves are subject to what the Norns decide. Odin may seek knowledge, and Thor may wield strength, but neither can overrule the fate shaped at the well. The Well of Yrd also functions as a place of assembly. The gods gather nearby to hold council. Judgments are rendered here. Oaths carry greater weight in this space because they are spoken in proximity to fate itself. The location reinforces a core Norse belief. Authority derives from alignment with deeper forces, not from domination. From this root, Yggdrasil draws structure, but structure alone is insufficient. Order without understanding becomes brittle. This is where the second root comes into play. The second root reaches into Jötunheim, the realm of the giants. This connection often surprises modern audiences, who assume the gods would sever ties with their rivals. Instead, Norse cosmology insists on connection. The gods rely on the giants far more than they admit. At the end of this route lies Mimir's well. This is the well of wisdom, memory, and deep knowledge. Unlike the Well of Yrd, which concerns inevitability, Mimir's well concerns comprehension. It contains understanding of the cosmos as it truly is, not as the gods wish it to be. Mimir himself is a being of immense age and intelligence. After his death, his head is preserved and consulted by Odin, a detail that underscores the separation between authority and wisdom. Kings may rule, but they must still ask questions. Odin's sacrifice at this well is one of the defining moments of Norse myth. To drink from its waters, he gives up one of his eyes. This exchange is not symbolic excess. It reflects a cultural truth. Wisdom demands permanent loss. Knowledge changes the knower. Once gained, it cannot be undone. This root ties Yggdrasil to forces outside divine control. The giants are not chaotic in the simplistic sense. They represent raw reality, natural law, inevitability, and truths that do not care about divine preference. By anchoring one of its roots here, Yggdrasil ensures that the cosmos remains connected to what lies beyond authority. Without this root, the universe would be orderly but ignorant, stable but blind. The third route descends into the most hostile territory of all. It reaches into Niflheim, a realm of mist, cold, and primordial darkness. At its terminus lies Hvergelmir, the roaring cauldron from which countless rivers flow. Hvergelmir is older than the gods. It is linked to the earliest moments of creation, when icy waters from Niflheim met the heat of Muspelheim, giving rise to the first beings. This well is not benevolent. It is the source of erosion, hunger, and entropy. Here dwell serpents and dragons, most notably Nidhogr. This creature gnaws constantly at Yggdrasil's root. Its work is never finished. Decay is not a threat that appears only at the end of time. It is a constant presence. Unlike the other two routes, this one is not tended. No divine beings apply healing waters here. No rituals preserve it. Decay is allowed to proceed unchecked. This too is intentional. In Norse cosmology, destruction is not an error, it is a function. Without decay, nothing could change. Without endings, there could be no renewal. By anchoring Yggdrasil in Niflheim, the cosmos accepts its own mortality. This route explains why even the gods will die. It explains why Ragnarök is inevitable. The universe is built on foundations that include its own undoing. Taken together, the three routes form a triangle of necessity: fate, wisdom, and decay, law, understanding, and entropy. Each counterbalances the others. If fate existed without wisdom, existence would be rigid and meaningless. If wisdom existed without decay, stagnation would follow. If decay existed without fate, chaos would erase continuity. Yggdrasil survives because it is anchored to all three. The roots also explain why the tree suffers. It is pulled in opposing directions by incompatible forces. It must endure law that resists change, wisdom that demands sacrifice, and decay that never rests. This suffering is not tragic in the modern sense, it is descriptive. The Norse did not imagine a painless universe. They imagined one that persists despite pain. Understanding the roots of Yggdrasil changes how we interpret everything that happens above them. The struggles of gods, the lives of humans, and the fate of worlds are not random. They are expressions of pressures applied far below the surface. In the next movement of this journey, we will descend even further. We will linger at the wells themselves, where water, memory, and fate pool together, and examine how these hidden sources quietly determine the shape of existence. If the roots of Yggdrasil anchor the cosmos, then the wells beneath them are its reservoirs of power. They are not passive pools of water. They are active forces, shaping destiny, memory, and destruction with quiet persistence. In Norse cosmology, nothing essential flows from the sky downward. Instead, it rises from beneath. Meaning begins below the surface. Each of the great wells beneath Yggdrasil represents a different necessity of existence. One governs fate. One preserves wisdom. One unleashes decay. Together, they sustain the world not through harmony, but through constant pressure. The Well of Erd lies beneath the route that stretches toward Asgard. It is the most revered of the three, yet also the least comforting. Erd is not a place of mercy. It is a place of inevitability. Here dwell the Norns, Erd, Verdandi, and Skuld. Their names are often associated with past, present, and future, but this framing is incomplete. In Norse thought, time is not a clean line. What has happened continues to exert force. What is becoming is unstable. What must happen presses backward into the present. The Norns do not predict fate in the way later oracles do. They shape it through continual action. Each day, they draw water from the well and mix it with clay from the surrounding earth. This substance is then applied to Yggdrasil's bark to keep it from splitting and rotting. Fate, therefore, is not abstract. It is maintenance work. This image carries profound meaning. The universe does not endure because it is destined to survive. It survives because fate is actively sustained. Even inevitability requires effort. The Well of Erd is also the site of judgment. The gods gather nearby to hold council, aware that their authority exists only in alignment with deeper forces. Oaths sworn near the well carry exceptional weight. Breaking them invites consequences not because the gods punish dishonesty, but because reality itself responds. Humans, though rarely present at the well, are not excluded from its influence. Every life unfolds under its shadow. Birth, death, fortune, and loss are all shaped by what is tended here. Fate does not ask permission. Yet the Well of Yrd is not hostile. It does not seek destruction. Its role is continuity. It ensures that events follow from causes, that actions carry consequences, and that nothing exists in isolation from what came before. Where the Well of Yrd governs inevitability, Mimir's Well governs understanding. Located beneath the root that reaches into Jötunheim, Mimir's Well is older than the gods themselves. Its waters contain knowledge of the cosmos as it truly is, not as it appears. This includes memories of creation, truths about the nature of beings, and awareness of events yet to unfold. Mimir, the guardian of the well, embodies memory rather than authority. Even after his death, his preserved head continues to speak wisdom. This detail reinforces a key Norse idea: wisdom outlives power, kings fall, knowledge remains. The price of this knowledge is severe. Odin's sacrifice of his eye is the most famous example. To drink from the well, he must give something irreplaceable. The loss is permanent. He cannot reclaim his eye, just as he cannot forget what he learns. This exchange reveals a harsh truth at the heart of Norse thought. Wisdom is not enlightenment without cost. It is transformation through loss. Those who know more see less clearly in other ways. Mimir's Well is not concerned with justice or mercy. It does not reward virtue. It offers clarity. That clarity can be devastating. To understand the future does not mean to prevent it. The gods' reliance on this well underscores their limitations. They rule realms, but they do not fully comprehend the forces that govern them. They must consult something older, stranger, and beyond their control. If the Well of Yrd sustains continuity and Mimir's Well preserves truth, then Hvergelmir ensures that nothing lasts forever. Hvergelmir lies in Niflheim, beneath the third root of Yggdrasil. It is described as a roaring cauldron, the source from which countless rivers flow. These rivers spread throughout the cosmos, carrying cold, erosion, and the slow certainty of decay. Hvergelmir is linked to the earliest moments of creation. Before the gods, before worlds took shape, icy waters from this region flowed outward. When they met the heat of Muspelheim, life emerged. Creation and destruction share the same origin. Within Hvergelmir dwell serpents and dragons, most notably Nithhogr. This creature gnaws endlessly at Yggdrasil's root. It is not acting out of malice alone, it fulfills a function. Decay is not portrayed as evil in Norse mythology, it is necessary. Without erosion, there would be no change. Without death, there would be no renewal. Here Gelmir represents this truth without comfort. Unlike the other wells, Hvergelmir receives no care. No gods tend it. No sacred mixtures are applied to its waters. This neglect is intentional. Decay must remain unchecked for the cosmos to function as it does. The rivers that flow from Pruzalgelmir reach far beyond Niflheim. They pass through realms, shaping landscapes, freezing ground, and wearing down even the mightiest structures. Everything is touched eventually. Taken together, the three wells form a foundation beneath reality. Fate ensures continuity. Wisdom provides clarity. Decay guarantees transformation. None of these forces is optional. Remove any one of them, and existence collapses into either stagnation, chaos, or meaninglessness. The wells also explain why the Norse universe is fundamentally tragic, without being hopeless. The end is known. The cost of knowledge is severe. The struggle against decay is unwinnable, and yet life continues. Yggdrasil drinks from these wells constantly. It is nourished and wounded at the same time. It survives, not because it is protected, but because it is resilient. As we move upward from the hidden depths, the influence of the wells becomes visible. Creatures emerge that embody these forces. Messages travel along the tree. Conflict takes shape. The next layer of Yggdrasil is alive with motion and struggle. It is here, within the tree itself, that the quiet pressures of fate, wisdom, and decay take form as living beings. Yggdrasil is not an empty framework, it is inhabited. Its bark, branches, and roots form an ecosystem as complex and restless as any world suspended within it. Creatures move through its vertical expanse, carrying messages, spreading damage, feeding on its leaves, and gnawing at its foundations. These beings are not decorative symbols. Each one embodies a force that keeps the Norse cosmos in motion. Life within Yggdrasil is not harmonious. It is strained, competitive, and often hostile. The tree does not offer sanctuary from conflict. Instead, it concentrates it. Every creature that dwells within Yggdrasil participates in the same struggle that defines the universe itself: endurance under pressure. At the very top of the tree, perched among the highest branches, sits a great eagle. The sources do not give this eagle a personal name, which is itself significant. It represents perception rather than personality. From its vantage point, it sees across worlds. Nothing escapes its sight. Between the eagle's eyes sits a hawk named Verfolnir. This detail is easy to overlook, but it matters. The hawk sharpens the eagle's vision. Sight in Norse mythology is rarely singular. Perception is layered, refined through intermediaries. Knowledge does not arrive whole, it is filtered. The eagle embodies watchfulness and awareness. It does not intervene directly, it observes. In a cosmos governed by fate, observation itself carries weight. To see is to acknowledge what must unfold. At the opposite extreme, far below the eagle's perch, beneath the roots of Yggdrasil, dwells Nidhogr. This dragon gnaws constantly at the tree's foundation. Its presence is relentless. It does not tire, it does not pause. Nidhogr is often described as malicious, but this interpretation misses the point. It does not exist to destroy the cosmos out of spite. It exists to erode it because erosion is necessary. Without Nidhogr, decay would stagnate, the end would never come, and renewal would be impossible. Nidhogr also feeds on the bodies of the dead, particularly those guilty of severe crimes. This detail ties moral consequence to physical decay. Actions in life affect one's fate even after death, not through punishment imposed by gods, but through alignment with destructive forces. Between the eagle above and the dragon below runs an unlikely messenger, Ratatoskr. Ratatoskr is a squirrel, small and agile, darting up and down Yggdrasil's trunk. His role is to carry messages between the eagle and Nidhogr. These messages are not neutral. They are insults, provocations, and accusations. This detail is one of the most psychologically revealing elements of Norse myth. Conflict is not always generated by opposing forces alone. It is amplified by communications. Words travel faster than weapons. Ratatoskr does not create the hostility between eagle and dragon, but he ensures it never subsides. In this way, Ratatoskr embodies the power of language to escalate tension. The cosmos is not torn apart solely by physical forces. It is strained by resentment, misunderstanding, and deliberate provocation. Yggdrasil also supports 4 stags, Dain, Dvalin, Dunir, and Durshror, who graze upon its leaves. Their presence introduces a quieter form of consumption. They do not gnaw at roots or spread insults. They feed gently, continuously. These stags are associated with the winds and the passage of air through the worlds. Their feeding represents erosion through time rather than violence. Leaves are not torn away in an instant. They are slowly reduced. The stags remind us that destruction does not always arrive dramatically. Sometimes it comes through gradual depletion. Resources diminish. Strength fades. The tree weakens not only through attack, but through use. Beneath Yggdrasil, in the waters of Hvergelmir, dwell countless serpents alongside Nidhogr. Their names are rarely listed, but their presence is emphasized. They twist through the roots, biting and wearing them down. These serpents represent multiplicity. Decay is not a single force. It arrives from many directions, through countless small pressures. Even if one threat were removed, others would remain. What unites all these creatures is that none of them act in isolation. The eagle's watchfulness gains meaning because something gnaws below. Nidhogger's destruction matters because something endures above. Ratatosker's messages matter because both ends are listening. Yggdrasil is thus a system of feedback. Forces act, react, and intensify one another. The tree does not collapse immediately because its opposing pressures remain in balance. But that balance is never comfortable. The gods do not remove these creatures, they tolerate them. This tolerance reveals a core Norse belief. Conflict cannot be eliminated without destroying the structure it sustains. Even the gods are subject to this system. Odin seeks knowledge by sacrificing himself on the tree. Thor defends order by confronting forces that arise from its roots. Yet neither can silence Ratatosker, remove the stags, or slay Nidhogger permanently. The creatures of Yggdrasil are not enemies of existence. They are expressions of it. This understanding challenges later mythological frameworks that divide reality into good and evil. In the Norse worldview, the universe persists through opposition, not purity. Life feeds on life. Order depends on disorder. Communication spreads conflict as easily as truth. As these creatures move through Yggdrasil, they carry the influence of the wells upward and outward. Fate, wisdom, and decay do not remain hidden below. They manifest through teeth, wings, hooves, and whispers. The tree endures their presence because it must. To strip Yggdrasil of its inhabitants would be to strip the cosmos of motion. Entire worlds hang within this living structure. They do not float freely. They are suspended within a contested framework already under strain. The nine worlds do not exist beside Yggdrasil. They exist within it. Each world occupies a position shaped by roots, trunk, or branches, bound together by a structure that is alive and under pressure. Norse cosmology does not imagine separate planets drifting in space. It imagines a single reality divided into domains, all suspended within the same living framework. This distinction matters. The nine worlds are not isolated realms with clean borders. They influence one another constantly. Movement between them is possible, but never trivial. Distance is measured less by space than by resistance, danger, and permission. At the center of this arrangement lies Midgard, the world of humans. Midgard exists along the trunk of Yggdrasil, neither at the heights of divine authority nor in the depths of primal decay. Humanity's position reflects its condition: vulnerable, constrained, and constantly affected by forces above and below. Midgard is enclosed, famously protected by a boundary made from the body of the primordial giant Ymir. This enclosure is not absolute protection, it is containment. Humans are shielded from the full chaos of the cosmos, but also limited in their reach. Gods may walk among humans, and monsters may breach Midgard's defenses, but such crossings are disruptive events. Above Midgard lies Asgard, the realm of the gods. Asgard is connected to Midgard by Bifrost, the Rainbow Bridge. This bridge is both a path and a barrier. It allows movement, but only under specific conditions. Heimdall guards it, ensuring that not all beings may cross freely. Asgard's position within Yggdrasil reflects divine authority rather than moral superiority. The gods are powerful, but they are not beyond fate. Their realm is elevated, not exempt. Even Asgard depends on the tree's health and the wells beneath it. Adjacent to Asgard is Jötunheim, the home of the Vanir gods. Though less frequently described, Jötunheim represents fertility, prosperity, and natural cycles. Its placement emphasizes balance rather than dominance. The Vanir's eventual integration with the Aesir underscores cooperation as a necessity within the cosmic structure. Jötunheim lies apart from these realms, yet remains fully embedded within Yggdrasil. It is the land of the giants. beings often portrayed as enemies of the gods, but essential to the universe's function. Giants embody raw forces, mountains, storms, fire, and ancient knowledge. Their realm's proximity to Mimir's well highlights their connection to truths the gods cannot fully control. The relationship between Asgard and Jötunheim is one of tension, not separation. Conflict between gods and giants is constant, but so is interaction. Marriages occur. Knowledge is exchanged. Boundaries are crossed. This interplay prevents the cosmos from becoming rigid. Below Midgard lies Svartalfheim, often associated with dwarves and sometimes linked closely with Nidavellir. These beings are master craftsmen, shaping weapons and objects that influence the fate of gods and humans alike. Their realm's placement reflects the importance of what is hidden. Power is not always visible. Creation often happens underground, away from recognition. Dwarven craftsmanship introduces another layer of dependency. The gods rely on tools forged below the surface. Authority requires support from those who do not rule. Alfheim, the realm of the Light Elves, occupies a brighter position within Yggdrasil. It is associated with beauty, fertility, and subtle influence rather than force. Elves are not rulers, but their presence affects growth and prosperity across realms. Their domain represents refinement within the cosmic system. Muspelheim and Niflheim occupy extreme positions. Muspelheim is the realm of fire, heat, and destruction through burning. It is associated with Surtur and forces that will play a decisive role in Ragnarök. Niflheim, by contrast, is cold, misty, and linked to stagnation and decay. These realms are not opposites in a moral sense. They are elemental extremes. Their interaction is what made creation possible in the first place. Fire and ice meeting gave rise to life. Their continued existence ensures that destruction remains inevitable. Helheim, often simply called Hel, lies beneath the roots of Yggdrasil. It is the realm of the dead who did not die in battle. This realm is not a place of punishment. It is a destination shaped by circumstance rather than judgment. Helheim's placement reflects the Norse view of death as continuation rather than reward or condemnation. The dead persist in a different state, governed by rules as unyielding as those of the living world. Movement between these worlds is possible, but costly. Gods travel more freely than humans, but even they face danger. Boundaries exist for a reason. Each crossing risks imbalance. The 9 worlds influence one another constantly. Events in one realm send ripples through the others. A weapon forged below may determine the outcome of a divine conflict. A giant's decision may shape human fate. A god's failure may hasten cosmic collapse. Yggdrasil absorbs all of this strain. Its structure holds worlds that pull against one another, each exerting pressure in different directions. The tree does not resolve these tensions. It contains them. This containment explains why the Norse cosmos feels precarious. Stability is temporary. Balance is negotiated, not guaranteed. The 9 worlds endure because Yggdrasil endures. They remain connected because the tree continues to stand, even as it weakens. Every realm depends on forces beyond itself. This arrangement leaves no world truly independent. Isolation is an illusion. All existence shares the same foundation, the same roots, and ultimately the same fate. Yggdrasil does not stand outside time. It bears time within itself. Growth, erosion, memory, and inevitability pass through its wood as surely as sap. In Norse cosmology, time is not a neutral backdrop against which events unfold. It is an active force, shaping and wearing down everything it touches. The tree endures, but it does not remain unchanged. Its survival depends on continual care, continual damage, and continual adjustment. This dynamic reveals how the Norse understood fate, not as a fixed script, but as a pressure that must be managed. The Norns play a central role in this process. Their daily labor at the Well of Erd keeps Yggdrasil from rotting entirely. They apply water and clay to its bark, slowing decay but never stopping it. This action does not make the tree eternal, it makes it durable. Durability matters more than permanence in Norse thought. Nothing is meant to last forever, not even the structure of the cosmos. What matters is whether something can endure long enough to fulfill its purpose. Time within Yggdrasil is cumulative. Damage does not reset. Every gnawing tooth, every grazing stag, every freezing river leaves a mark. The tree carries the memory of all that has happened to it. This accumulation explains why fate feels heavy in Norse mythology. The past is not gone. It presses forward, shaping what is possible. Actions taken long ago continue to influence the present, not through moral judgment, but through consequence. The gods understand this limitation. They do not attempt to restore Yggdrasil to an imagined perfect state. Instead, they focus on preservation. They accept that loss cannot be undone. Odin's pursuit of knowledge reflects this acceptance. His sacrifices do not aim to reverse fate, they aim to understand it. Knowledge offers preparation, not escape. Thor's role complements this approach. He confronts immediate threats, defending the structure against sudden collapse. His strength delays destruction, but cannot eliminate it. Even these efforts have limits. The gods know that Yggdrasil will one day fail. Ragnarök is not a surprise event. It is an anticipated outcome. Yet this anticipation does not lead to despair. It leads to responsibility. Knowing that collapse is inevitable gives meaning to maintenance. Time also behaves unevenly across the tree. Certain realms experience stagnation, others rapid change. Wisdom gathered at Mimir's well compresses vast spans of time into single moments of understanding. Fate, shaped at the well of Erd, connects distant events into a single chain. Humans experience time as scarcity. Lives are short. Opportunities narrow quickly. This condition mirrors humanity's position on the tree, exposed to forces above and below, with little control over the pressures applied. Giants, by contrast, embody deep time. Their lives stretch across ages, their memories reach back toward creation itself. This difference explains their perspective. Giants are less concerned with urgency. They wait. Decay, flowing from Hvergelmir, represents time's most honest expression. Everything erodes, everything wears down. Even what seems solid is temporary. This erosion is not chaotic, it follows patterns. Rivers carve paths. Cold spreads gradually. Destruction advances with patience. Yggdrasil absorbs all of this. Its continued existence demonstrates that time does not simply destroy, it transforms. Fate within this system is not mercy or cruelty. It is continuity. Events happen because they must follow from what came before. This understanding removes the possibility of absolute rescue. No god arrives to reset the universe. There is no final correction. Instead, there is adaptation. Beings respond to pressure with action, sacrifice, and endurance. The tree's weakening does not diminish its importance. It intensifies it. As collapse approaches, every choice matters more. This perspective reframes Ragnarök itself. The end of the world is not a punishment for failure. It is the result of accumulated strain. Yggdrasil does not break suddenly. It fails after holding too much for too long. Time within the tree is therefore not linear progression toward an ending. It is a process of bearing weight until bearing becomes impossible. This process defines Norse existence. To live is to endure under time's pressure without expecting rescue. Yggdrasil embodies this condition perfectly. It stands because it must. It suffers because it cannot avoid doing so. The universe continues not because it is stable, but because it has not yet reached its limit. Yggdrasil is not only the structure that sustains the cosmos, it is also the place where power is tested, knowledge is purchased, and authority proves its cost. No figure illustrates this more clearly than Odin. His relationship with the tree is not symbolic admiration, it is reciprocal suffering. Odin does not rule Yggdrasil, he submits to it. Among the gods, Odin is the most aware of limitation. He knows that strength fades, that weapons break, and that fate cannot be overturned. What he seeks is not dominance, but comprehension. Yggdrasil becomes the instrument through which that comprehension is earned. The account preserved in the Poetic Edda describes Odin hanging from the tree for 9 nights. He is pierced by his own spear. He is denied food and drink. He hangs wounded and alone, offered to himself. This is not execution, it is deliberate sacrifice. The number 9 appears repeatedly in Norse cosmology. It signals completeness rather than excess. Odin's suffering is not open-ended, it is measured. Endurance is the price. Yggdrasil functions here as both scaffold and witness. The tree does not rescue Odin. It does not ease his pain. It holds him. This distinction matters. Knowledge in Norse myth is not granted by benevolent forces. It is extracted through suffering that reshapes the seeker. Odin's sacrifice is not a bargain struck with another being. It is a confrontation with reality itself. At the moment of collapse, when Odin's strength finally fails, the runes reveal themselves. They are not handed down, they rise up. Runes are not merely letters, they are forces. Each rune carries meaning, action, and consequence. To know a rune is to engage with the power it represents. By gaining the runes, Odin gains access to spells, protection, insight, and transformation. Yet this knowledge does not grant peace. It sharpens awareness of what cannot be avoided. Odin's authority after this event is fundamentally altered. He is not simply a war god or a ruler. He becomes a figure defined by sacrifice, foresight, and burden. Yggdrasil is central to this transformation. The tree does not teach Odin compassion or mercy. It teaches endurance. This moment also reveals an important aspect of Norse theology. The gods do not begin complete. They acquire what they are through trial. Odin's hanging mirrors the structure of the cosmos itself. The tree suffers under pressure. Odin suffers upon it. Both endure without guarantee of success. The relationship between Odin and Yggdrasil continues beyond this moment. He returns repeatedly to wells, roots, and thresholds connected to the tree. His pursuit of knowledge never ends, because knowledge never resolves the tension of existence. Other gods interact with Yggdrasil differently, but always within its constraints. Thor defends its structure through violence against giants and monsters. His role is protective, not transformative. Frey and Freyr are tied to fertility and growth, forces that depend on the tree's health. Their influence wanes as decay spreads. Even Loki's actions unfold within Yggdrasil's framework. His transgressions accelerate strain, but they do not originate outside the system. The gods are participants, not architects. Odin's sacrifice also clarifies the Norse understanding of wisdom. It is not moral insight, it is preparedness. Knowing the future does not prevent it. It allows one to meet it without illusion. This knowledge is isolating. Odin walks a path increasingly separate from other gods. He listens more than he speaks. He sacrifices more than he celebrates. Yggdrasil stands as the silent constant throughout this process. It does not judge Odin's choice. It does not reward him beyond what is taken. The runes Odin gains do not strengthen the tree. They strengthen his capacity to endure alongside it. This distinction reinforces the limits of divine power. Even armed with runes, Odin cannot heal Yggdrasil fully. He cannot stop Nidhogger. He cannot reverse time. What he can do is delay, prepare, and remember. In Norse myth, this is the highest form of leadership. Authority is measured not by control, but by willingness to bear knowledge of inevitable loss. Yggdrasil shapes Odin as much as Odin shapes events. The tree remains older, larger, and more patient than any god. The sacrifice does not elevate Odin above the cosmos. It binds him more tightly to it. Power gained through suffering does not free one from fate, it clarifies one's place within it. This clarity defines Odin's role as Ragnarök approaches. He knows what will happen, he acts anyway. Yggdrasil stands unchanged by his understanding, continuing to bear the weight of worlds, roots, creatures, and time. The god hangs, the tree holds, the universe continues. Ragnarök does not arrive suddenly. It emerges from pressures that have been accumulating since the first shaping of the cosmos. Yggdrasil carries these pressures long before the final battles are fought. The end of the world is not an interruption of the tree's story. It is its most extreme expression. As Ragnarök approaches, signs appear throughout Yggdrasil. The tree trembles, its leaves wither, bonds that once held begin to strain beyond repair. These changes are not portrayed as supernatural alarms. They are natural consequences of long-standing damage. The gnawing of Nithhogr intensifies. Rivers flowing from Hvergelmir grow harsher. The balance maintained by the Norns becomes increasingly fragile. Maintenance slows. Fate continues to be shaped, but the materials available to sustain the tree diminish. The gods recognize these signs. They do not mistake them for omens that can be averted. Ragnarök is not a punishment imposed from outside. It is the result of everything that has already happened. When the final conflicts erupt, Yggdrasil does not collapse immediately. It absorbs the shock of gods and monsters clashing across its structure. The tree has always held violence within itself. This is violence on a scale it was never meant to contain indefinitely. Fire spreads from Muspelheim. Ice surges from Niflheim. Forces once held in tension overwhelm the system that balanced them. The tree bends, but it does not shatter. This endurance matters. Even at the height of destruction, Yggdrasil continues to function. Within its wood, life takes refuge. Lif and Lifrasir, the last surviving humans, hide within the tree's shelter. They are not saved by divine intervention. They survive because Yggdrasil still stands. Their survival reframes Ragnarök entirely. The end of the world does not erase humanity. It compresses it. What remains is small, fragile, and dependent. Yggdrasil's role here is not to prevent destruction, but to allow continuity. The tree does not offer safety through strength. It offers it through persistence. After the fires die down and the waters recede, the tree remains, damaged, scarred, weakened, but standing. From this survival emerges renewal. New gods arise. New lands surface. The cycle begins again, not because the old world was repaired, but because enough remained. Yggdrasil's endurance through Ragnarök demonstrates a core Norse belief. Endings are never absolute. Collapse clears space. It does not guarantee improvement, but it makes continuation possible. The tree after Ragnarök is not the same as before. Memory remains embedded in its structure. The damage is permanent. This permanence gives meaning to what was lost. The past is not erased. It informs what comes next. Ragnarök therefore does not contradict the role of Yggdrasil. It confirms it. The tree exists to bear the full weight of existence, including its own near destruction. Without Yggdrasil, there would be no refuge for life, no framework for renewal, no continuity between worlds. The survival of the tree explains why Norse cosmology does not end in despair. Knowledge of inevitable destruction does not negate responsibility, it sharpens it. What survives does so because something endured long enough to shelter it. Yggdrasil is not victorious at Ragnarök. It is exhausted. And still, it stands. Yggdrasil has never been explained fully within the surviving Norse sources, and this absence is not accidental. The tree resists final definition because it represents a system rather than a symbol. Attempts to reduce it to a single meaning flatten what the myths present as layered and unresolved. Within the Norse worldview, interpretation does not replace tradition. It emerges from it. Yggdrasil invites reflection because it is incomplete, damaged, and constantly under strain. One of the most enduring ways to understand Yggdrasil is as an axis mundi, a central pillar connecting all levels of existence. This concept appears across many cultures, but the Norse expression is distinctive. Their axis does not elevate humanity toward perfection. It binds all beings to the same vulnerabilities. Unlike cosmologies that imagine a clean separation between divine and mortal realms, Yggdrasil insists on proximity. Gods, humans, giants, and the dead occupy a shared structure. Distance exists, but isolation does not. Another interpretive layer views Yggdrasil through a shamanic lens. Odin's sacrifice aligns with traditions of ritual death and rebirth, where knowledge is gained through altered states and symbolic descent. In this reading, the tree functions as a pathway between states of awareness rather than physical locations. This perspective does not contradict the mythic geography. It deepens it. Movement through Yggdrasil mirrors movement through understanding, fear, and endurance. Psychological interpretations also find resonance here. Yggdrasil can be seen as a representation of consciousness itself. Roots in the unconscious, trunk in lived experience, branches in perception and memory. The creatures that inhabit it embody impulses, anxieties, and instincts that cannot be removed without collapse. Such interpretations do not replace the myth. They reflect its adaptability. The Norse did not compartmentalize meaning. Myth served as structure for both the external world and internal experience. Yggdrasil also reflects cultural reality. The Norse lived in an environment defined by forests, long winters, and fragile survival. Trees were lifelines. They provided shelter, fuel, tools, and boundaries. A cosmic tree would naturally carry the same weight. Importantly, Yggdrasil is not idealized. It is neither flawless nor safe. This realism distinguishes Norse mythology from later systems that promise eventual harmony. The tree's constant suffering suggests a worldview in which stability is temporary and effort never ceases. Meaning is found not in resolution, but in endurance. Yggdrasil also challenges linear thinking. Fate, memory, and decay exist simultaneously. The past presses forward, the future shapes the present bears both. This simultaneity explains why prophecy in Norse myth feels heavy rather than liberating. Knowing what will happen does not grant power, it increases responsibility. Interpretation of Yggdrasil therefore requires restraint. Speculation must not override what the sources preserve. The tree is not described as benevolent. It is not described as malevolent. It is necessary. Modern retellings often romanticize Yggdrasil as a place of beauty and unity. The original material resists this. Unity exists, but it is tense. Beauty exists, but it is fragile. Yggdrasil's meaning is inseparable from its function. It holds what would otherwise fall apart. It allows connection where separation would mean collapse. In this sense, Yggdrasil represents continuity under strain. A system that survives not because it is perfect, but because it absorbs damage without immediate failure. This idea resonates beyond myth. Societies, bodies, ecosystems, and minds function the same way. They persist by bearing pressure until they cannot. Yggdrasil does not promise salvation. It explains survival. Its presence within Norse cosmology offers no comfort of escape. It offers context. Understanding Yggdrasil means accepting that existence is maintained through effort, loss, and compromise. That understanding does not diminish the myth. It grounds it. Yggdrasil endures as an image, not because it is hopeful, but because it is honest. Yggdrasil remains standing not because it triumphs, but because it continues. Its legacy within Norse cosmology is not grandeur or victory, it is persistence. The tree does not promise safety, it does not guarantee justice, it does not reward devotion, it holds. This distinction explains why Yggdrasil endures as the central image of the Norse world. Gods rise and fall, worlds burn and freeze, names fade. The structure that allows any of this to occur remains in place until it cannot. Yggdrasil's survival after Ragnarök does not restore what was lost. It permits what remains to exist. Memory lingers in its fibers. Damage is not erased. Continuity carries scars forward. This legacy reflects a worldview shaped by harsh environments and limited certainty. For the Norse, survival was not comfort. It was effort repeated daily. A universe held together by strain made sense. Yggdrasil does not stand apart from the worlds it contains. It is affected by them. Their conflicts weaken it. Their endurance sustains it. The relationship is mutual. Humans, though small within this structure, are not irrelevant. Midgard's position along the trunk ensures that human actions resonate upward and downward. Choices matter not because they change fate, but because they contribute to pressure already present. The gods understand this. Their failures are not hidden. Their deaths are not avoided. Authority does not grant exemption. This honesty distinguishes Yggdrasil from later cosmic frameworks. It does not separate the sacred from the vulnerable. It binds them together. Yggdrasil also resists closure. Even at the end of the cycle, it does not resolve into peace or silence. Life continues because enough remains. That continuation is quiet. No celebration marks it. No guarantee accompanies it. The tree stands as it always has, bearing worlds, absorbing damage, connecting what would otherwise fall apart. Its meaning does not lie in symbolism alone. It lies in function. Without Yggdrasil, there is no Norse cosmos. Without its endurance, there is no future, however uncertain. To consider Yggdrasil fully is to accept limitation without despair, knowledge without control, survival without promise. The tree does not teach hope, it teaches responsibility. Responsibility to endure, responsibility to act with awareness of consequence, responsibility to bear what cannot be avoided. Yggdrasil holds because it must, and for as long as it holds, existence continues. If you found value in this slow journey through Norse cosmology, consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. It helps support long-form storytelling like this and allows these quiet histories to keep being told. Rest well and let the world tree stand watch as the night continues.